Dana puts a piece out. He says, okay, we're going to do 249, not telling you where. We're going to do 249, that's going to come out. But after 249, we're going to hold 4 events that you can just call the new home. It's on a private island, and we're doing infrastructure now. This is the whole quote. Stop right there. Let's break that down. If that is not fascinating, okay, let's start with the private island. Who the hell has a private island? I don't even know of anyone with a private island. I was on a phone call today with a quasi-insider, okay? And he told me that Tony Robbins, who is a fan, who is a reported investor, true or not, I don't know, has a private island. And that his guess is they're going to Anthony Robbins' private island. That really doesn't have anything to do with anything. The fact that they're going to go to a private island in conjunction with Dana's other statement, which is we're working on the infrastructure now. That's really interesting when you understand, by example, when Khabib and Poirier went to Abu Dhabi, or even when Anderson Silva and Damian Maia went to Abu Dhabi, both of which they erected a stadium just for those fights. They erected a stadium, held those fights, so the legend goes, nothing else has ever taken place. They tore the stadium down. I can't confirm that, but you guys can't unconfirm. We can confirm the first part. We know for sure for Damian Maia and Anderson Silva, they built, guys remember Ferrari Stadium? And then for Khabib and Tony, they built the stadium. The only part we don't, did they keep them up or did they tear them down? I'll share a quick story with you, a little bit off topic. The first time I ever did Abu Dhabi, the grappling tournament, 2001 in Abu Dhabi. This was the most spectacular architecture of any city I'd ever stepped foot in. Not only did they have the wildest buildings, these buildings were wild colors. Like there'd be a red building, and then there'd be a blue building, and then there'd be an all green building, all side by side by side. I mean, this was like something out of a Lego set. It was unbelievable. And I made that comment to some huge buildings. I'm talking about skyscrapers. And I made that comment to a guy over breakfast that was from there. And he goes, yeah, there's a law here that no building can be more than 20 years old. So no matter how big your building, the skyscraper, the beauty, $1 billion, no matter what, 20 years in, we tear it down and build a new one. That's why everything looks so futuristic, up to date, architecturally amazing. Doesn't matter. We tear it down after 20 years. Okay. Again, guys, I have never verified that beyond the gentleman who I met at breakfast who was from there and told me that. But when I look out the window and I see architecture like I have never seen, colors I have never seen, shapes I have never seen. I mean, I'm telling you, the most beautiful city. I believed it. So when you understand that Dana says, oh yeah, and he says it like it's a simple thing. Oh yeah, we're working on infrastructure now. What does that mean? Because if you do think of the private island, okay, not only do none of us know where a private island is or who has one or who the hell you even call to get access to a private island, but think of a private island. Why would a private island possibly need a theater? There's no one there. Why would it possibly need an arena? Why would it possibly need a venue that's going to house a production and lights and sound? Why would sound and lights and megaphones and camera even be on a private island? I mean, I can't think that a private island has a Best Buy. I can't think that it's got some local store. I can't imagine you can order something and Amazon drops it off. I mean, all the rules are different. Do you understand? There's a lot of very fascinating things that are going to come. Where is this island? What is on this island? I did a fight. I was just talking last night. I was texting with Jake Ellenberger. And we were both part, I think it was 2006, of an organization called Bodog. And at the time that Bodog came out, I mean, these guys made a splash. These guys were arguably the second biggest promotion in the world. They arguably overtook Pride. I mean, that there was an actual argument at that time in terms of viewers and dollars and revenue and where these two organizations are going to go. I think Pride won that argument. I'm just sharing with you, they made a real splash. And one thing that Bodog was doing is they were holding events in like the most bizarre of locations, places you wouldn't have to go. Like they would go get a private island when you didn't need to go get a private island. They just wanted to do it because it was this cool and wild and artistic thing. So Jake Ellenberger and I both end up on a card. And we don't know much about it. I mean, when you're a fighter, the media was different, the news was different. I mean, ESPN wasn't involved. There wasn't all these websites that you could go to. You know, you could have just click on bloodyelbow.com and get the day's news or follow Ariel Helwani's tweets. It wasn't like that. So even if you're a fighter on the card, which Jake and I both were, we just thought we were going out to a card, 9 or 10 fights and a crowd full of people. We didn't know. So we fly to one destination in Costa Rica. We then have to get onto a ship to get us across the water to get us to the resort, the island, where this fight's going to take place. So when we get there, there's fighters everywhere. So what ended up that they were doing that they never disclosed to us is they were having 33 fights over the course of a week. 5 days, Monday through Friday, 5 or 6 fights a day. 33 fights in total. We all have to sign non-disclosure agreements because it's not going to be air live. It's not going to make it to TV for another 30 days, and that's going to be spread out over a period of time. Okay, fine. No big deal, and you didn't have to tell us. I'm just sharing with you that this was a little bit of a surprise. Now, the problem and the large reason that we went there was just for the scenic. So there's no crowd. There's no tickets that are sold. They set up a ring, not a cage. They set up a ring on the beach. So it's like the most beautiful view you could imagine. I mean, you've got some staff over here and you got the fellow fighters over here to make up a little bit of an audience, and your third angle is literally of the sand and surf and the ocean. I mean, just this absolutely beautiful thing. But because it was outdoor in a tropical area and the canvas was a tarp, it was 100+ degrees where we had to fight. So they would literally bring in ice in between fights and spread it around, and it would just melt instantly. They'd spread it with towels and try to dry the surface. And a tarp is exactly what you guys would think. I mean, exactly what you might have something covered up in your backyard with right now. It is what is used for a slip and slide, quite literally. If you want to go outside and make a slip and slide, lay down a tarp, turn a hose on, and go have a great time. So imagine a tarp, and there's 2 different kinds of surfaces you could fight on. You could fight on what's called a canvas, which is going to absorb moisture. Be that sweat or be that blood, be that ice, be that water in between rounds. It's going to absorb it. Now, the canvas is then going to be very rough. Some of the most pain I ever felt in my MMA career was when I was on top of opponent for a meaningful period of time. I'd come out, my knees would be so rug burned. One time my toes, because of the position, if I was ground and pound and having some success in my strategy, it would be rubbing on this canvas, which was similar to sandpaper. And over the course of a night, one night it went all the way to the bone. I was bleeding so bad, hurt so bad for like weeks, showering and all of these different things. I only share this with you because a canvas would be the exact opposite of a tarp. Where a canvas would absorb and be a little bit rough and you could lock your feet in, a tarp would be the exact opposite. It's going to be slippery. Nothing is going to absorb. Everything's going to stay on top. It's a slip and slide. So we go out to Costa Rica. They have to ice down the ring just so fighters can get in it. Couple of fighters made these agreements with each other. That's the hard part of the ring that's sticking in the sun. You don't take me over there and I don't take you over there. We stay right over here and we fight in the corner. And other fighters go, I'm taking you down. I'm putting your back on that. I'm going to burn you into submission. This was a very real thing. There's no exaggeration to my story here. Okay. So this is what we had to deal with, and this was one of the reasons that to run 33 fights, you had to spread it over 5 days. You had to try to pick your moments. The reason I'm bringing this to you is if they go to a private island, We don't know anything about private islands, right? We're not private island guys. But let's just say our imagination of what we envision to be a private island, if they go to a private island, and I am right in my deduction that there would be no reason to have a venue at a private island. There would be no reason to have a theater or this simply would not make sense. Who is going to perform? Is Led Zeppelin going to fly into your private island to perform for you and your 3 friends that took a barge to get there, or a private jet? I mean, this is kind of exclusive. So, and then Dana talks about infrastructure. You don't ever know what he means when he says infrastructure. This is a guy who's built 2 arenas in Abu Dhabi. Like, what does that mean, infrastructure? I mean, you're going to bring in some generators and a couple of porta potties? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what he means. So then the question does come, is this thing going to have a roof? I mean, they did a show in Abu Dhabi. Poirier fought Khabib. They didn't put a roof on it, which meant there was no way to control the temperature. So even though they fought late at night and they didn't have to deal with the sun, it was 112 degrees. 112 degrees. I'm only suggesting for you guys that this is actually a very fascinating logistical mess. It will be very interesting to watch the pieces of the puzzle come together. How are people going to get there? Who is going to go there? Who is going to bring the cameras? Who is going to bring the lights? If you are, in fact, on a private island with no electronic stores and Amazon won't even deliver to you, there's an answer. It's all going to happen. But it's a very big mess. And I think logistically, I think you should be a little bit impressed. I know that I am.